When I breathed my last, it happened that Zhao Jin and Liu's child was born. A servant came to report, informing him that the lady had left. His joyful face instantly collapsed, his eyes filled with disgust. On such a day of great joy, death, you really pick the moment, go and deal with it quickly. By now he had become a supremely powerful minister, accustomed to the world's beauties and luxurious extravagance. Old and wan in beauty, had long since fallen out of his favor, and Liu was his favored concubine, and she had just given him a child. No need for him to say more, the servants knew how to deal with it. They rolled up a mat and threw me into the mass graveyard. Before discarding me, they stripped me of all my clothes and jewelry. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the Qianglin banquet, at the first meeting with Zhao Jin. His performance of the song Feng Qiu Huang dazzled all, and he stared dreamily at me behind the bamboo curtain and asked, "Jin is lacking in talent and learning. I wonder if I could enter Mrs. Discerning Eyes." The crowd's gesture of raising their cups stalled. "Glance over here, wait for my reaction. I am Lin Wanteng, the second miss of the Lin family, the magnate of linen. Today is the Qianglin banquet hosted by my father. Zhao Jin is a poor boy, yet he has long been famed for his talent, so I am among those invited. In my past life, I was sullen and moody because I argued with my father. Zhao Jinqin played well, and among a group of wealthy young masters, I stood out with cold pride. I spoke bluntly, Sir Zhao is quick-witted and of good character. This sound, I fear even Chang'e would be moved to descend to the mortal realm to hear it. A ripple of cheers erupted. The father's face turned ashen. He brought me here to flaunt. My daughter has grown up, not to flirt with anyone in public, but I don't care about that. The more it irritates him, the more interested I am. From that day on, Zhao Jin and I locked eyes, ran away overnight despite opposition from my family. After escaping to Shujun, I am no longer the Lin family's eldest daughter. There is no luxurious life, only being Zhao Jin's wife, fighting and struggling with him, through hardship and disarray. Under the scorching summer, we go to the fields to transplant rice. In winter, we also wash clothes by the stream. Life is hard. We were forced to return to linen, and I sold the only remaining pieces of jewelry I wore. I opened a tavern. Zhao Jin is as learned as 5 cartloads of books. Intent on studying to become an official, I rolled up my sleeve and cried out for buyers at the kill. Someone told my father about this matter. He once spoke with a cruel heart. If you insist on leaving with him, I will pretend you were never my daughter. Yet blood is thicker than water after all. Feeling heartache, he sent people to deliver the fields, fine houses, money, and servants. No longer needing to worry about livelihood, Zhao Jin's talents and learning were quickly discovered, gaining the Prime Minister's favor. One's official career prospers. Later he was dispatched to Luoyang, and the times we sent messages grew fewer and fewer. I traveled thousands of miles to find him, but it missed. I just learned that he has already placed another residence in the city center, with a concubine by his side. At 28, she is graceful and beautiful. I ran to find him, wanting to question him. "Why didn't you tell me you took a concubine?" A voice came from a room just doors away. "Brother Zhao, I hear Lady Sifei is jealous, now that you have taken a concubine. Can she agree?" Zhao Jin let out a light laugh, the tone even. "Once I was poor and under her control, now I still can't possibly rise to the heavens. She no longer looks like herself now, and she is just a merchant's wife. I already have her act as an official's wife. Is that not enough?" I feel the blood rushing backward through my body, and there is a brief blackness in front of my eyes. After years together, is that what he thinks? Luoyang was prosperous and thriving, but his heart had long departed from me, and with that, all those past things were easily erased by him. In the end, he only said, "Her appearance today is no longer the same," and assumed I could not resist. I closed my eyes. In the end, that door never rang. After the assignment ended, he was promoted a rank and brought Liu back, and his conduct became even more excessive. Although I am Zhao Jin's rightful wife, there is no say in the internal household chores. Even Lian Xiang has to ask Liu before she can have custard. She says eggs are hard to buy, so the kitchen can't make it. She says the household matters are complicated, draining her mentally and needing some nourishment. A stream of bird's nest and shark fin is brought to her front. We have to pick and choose carefully. If she doesn't want to eat, She's simply poured out. The maid Qinglu who serves me refuses to comply and runs to Zhao Jin to complain. She tells the whole story word for word. My lady is gravely ill and can only eat some egg custard. He was in a hurry to leave when his new supervisor summoned him for a discussion. He casually threw 2 pieces of broken silver onto the ground, not turning his head as he spoke. Don't bother me with this kind of trivial matter again in the future. Qingluo bought a bowl of egg custard and was about to feed it to my mouth. There was a ruckus in there, and in the next moment the door to the room was kicked open. Luo pressed a handkerchief against her chest, sneering coldly. I know sister is a rich young lady, not knowing how hard it is to make a living and to count every penny carefully. Just custard. I only said I would make it again in a couple of days, and I never said I wouldn't. This maid actually stirs up trouble and runs to the master to complain. Considering that she is also a devoted follower of the Lord, slap her 30 times. The sound of wooden boards slapping echoed. With a crack, Qingluo was beaten so that the corners of her mouth split, blood splattered, and she fainted on the ground. From then on, everyone in the household knew, whoever dares to be good to me will pay a price. Soon Zhao Jin was exposed in a book. It says his character is cold and callous. He indulges consorts and destroys wives. This dynasty places great importance on the virtue of officials. If one is unfilial to one's parents and mistreats one's wife, to such a degree that one could be removed from office, he finally realized that he couldn't go too far with me. I refused to stay and return to Linen, and I also order my servants from now on to respect let Liu and me manage the household together. But my body is weak and my spirit deteriorates day by day. Liu is pregnant, and I sent someone to deliver a 1,000-year-old ginseng. The next day she started having abdominal pain and bleeding, nearly losing the baby. The palace physician examined her and asked what she had eaten. Among a pile of remnants, they found that the ginseng had a problem. Inside there was saffron that could cause a woman to miscarry. I was shoved off the attic by Zhao Jin. My body was broken, with blood oozing from my forehead. From then on, I had a reason. He did not mistreat his wife. It was really my cruel heart, jealous and hateful toward others. But after all these years of affection, keeping me in the small courtyard to be fed for a lifetime, consider it punishment. My heart was ashen. I finally saw this person's hypocrisy and ruthlessness. I want to uncover the truth to clear my own innocence, but the body would not permit it. Watching one's life gradually come to an end, I asked someone to plead on my behalf with Zhao Jin. I took out the food I used to run the tavern back then and presented it to him. I hope, for the sake of the old ties, that he will let me see my father and mother once more. A life of rebelliousness. On my deathbed I want to properly apologize to them. My daughter's unfiliality has caused them much worry, but Zhao Jin would not permit it. He stepped onto the moon and came, his gaze at me as cold as a blade. Who are you showing this pitiful look to? While growing older, my mind has become narrower, poisoning Liu. I only punish you by keeping you here in confinement to reflect. 3 meals a day will be delivered as usual. I have never treated you harshly. He picked up that food card, sneered coldly, and tossed it to the ground. Lin wanting, you don't need to remind me of the kindness your father and mother showed me. Those acts of almsgiving I will never forget. Even now there are still plenty of people who use those past jokes to mock me. He turned around and slammed the door, shattering my last thread of heart. So, he had always regarded the Lin family's help as a disgrace. The first thing the blinded man does after regaining his sight is to throw away his crutch. I dare not mention Linen again. One day, Liu, heavily pregnant, walked up to me looking at me lying on the bed. Skin and bones, she said. These Western spices are truly wonderful. They can quietly and invisibly send you on your way. I frowned and asked, what did you say? She looked at me amusedly, then lifted her eyes to appraise Qinglu by the incense burner. What do you think? Qinglu, blueberry green vines clenched both fists, eyes brimming with tears, wretchedly saying, I don't want to hurt you, but following you is truly too painful. My younger brother is gravely ill and needs money to save his life. Only then did I suddenly realize my body should not be in such a state of misery. Only she was intimidated and bought off by Liu, betraying me. Now I am spent and exhausted. Recalling the past, I don't know who to blame. Green, the vine, Qingluo, she was originally a loyal servant. but was beaten cruelly because of my incompetence. She harms me, only out of necessity. Lure, even though she is vicious, it's also my own excessive weakness to blame. Let her do as she pleases, neither fighting back nor deigning to lower herself to beg Zhao Jin. She harmed me because she fears losing power, fears having no support. What about Zhao Jin? He truly is hateful. All these injuries and the rapid aging of my face are all caused by him. Blaming and resenting, and more blaming when I saw him happily teasing Lure, that child, and heard of my death. No sorrow, no regret, not even a trace of pity, just frowned with a disgusted expression. He blames me. Dying is not at the right time. He hasn't yet washed away those accusations in court about him, slandering him in the court, that he favors concubines over wives. Moreover, it is not easy for a man to have a son late in life. When I die, I'm always unlucky, watching my parents rush from linen to attend the funeral, with dust and grime on his face, crying his heart out. He points at Zhao Jin and demands an explanation. But what's the use of that? I am already dead. Zhao Jin now serves as the Shongshu Lang again, and they have no way to deal with him. They can't even bring back my corpse to be buried in the Zhao family ancestral tomb. Even in death I shall not rest. I finally understand. The one who deserves the blame most is myself. It's all because of that rebellious, foolish me from back then. Luckily, when I opened my eyes again, I was back. And there was still time for everything. Seeing that I remained silent for a long time, Zhao Jin lowered his head. Sorry for my rudeness, which made the mist displeased and seem abrupt. Someone glanced at me with a smile, as if he really overestimated himself. I covered my face with my sleeve, my eyes meeting his through the thin bamboo curtain. My voice was soft, though not loud. Master Zhao is overthinking, which is good. I answered just like everyone else. There was neither overstepping praise nor deliberate disparagement. His eyes flickered slightly. He cupped his hands and withdrew. The banquet continues. Silk and bamboo. People all finish singing. The wine goes on late into the night. I leave the stage early, the maid supporting me as we walk along the corridor. The moon is bright and the stars sparse. Apricot trees hang their branches low. The air is filled with the hazy scent of flowers and birds. A solitary figure stands quietly at the end of the corridor. He hears footsteps and slowly turns his head when he sees me. A pale and refined face breaks into a smile. Seeing Miss covering her chest and coughing softly at the table, I knew you don't handle alcohol well. This is a family recipe, loquat liqueur passed down through my ancestors. Please try some. I look at the pure white silk cloth in his other hand, raised her eyes in doubt. He drew a deep breath, paused, and said, "This is the lyrics and melody I wrote, the very piece Phoenix seeking the Phoenix, meant to gift to Miss." I silently studied his face. The same cheap look as in the previous life. There is a line in this song. There is a beauty, when seen, one cannot forget, a day apart, and thoughts of her drive one mad. The amorous meaning is obvious. If I accept him, it would be tantamount to consenting to his pursuit. If I refuse, I suppose he will retreat when faced with difficulty and go elsewhere to hustle and bustle. The maid pinched my sleeve as she stood beside me. "Miss, this is not reasonable." Zhao Jin also paused, taken aback. It should be thought of as handkerchiefs. Lyrics and such are always regarded as tokens of romance between men and women. We were indeed not suitable to meet for the first time. I shook my arm vigorously, wanting to take it back. I directly took the loquat syrup and the silk cloth from his hand. A dark cloud moves aside a small corner, and the full moonlight shines on my snow-white silk dress. I bar my teeth and smile brightly. "Thank you, young Master Zhao." Father calls me over the next day. Yesterday that Zhao Jin did indeed have some talent, but his family is impoverished and he is skilled at scheming. You should still stay away from mixing with him. In my past life, I was already drawn to Zhao Jin, harboring some favorable impression. And because I was sincere in my opposition to my father, ultimately, it led me down an irretrievable path. After decades of rough and tumble in the marketplace, I finally understand the old man's well-meaning intentions. Now to be able to see him again, to sit at his knee and be spoiled. I don't know how excited I am. He looked at my reddened eyes, thinking his words were too blunt and might hurt me, and hurriedly said, "I am doing this for your own good too. I'm not looking down on him, I know." I wiped the tear from the corner of my eye and spoke seriously. Please rest assured, father, I have this under control." Watching my calm and composed demeanor, he nodded. "What kind of person is Zhao Jin? I have been by his side for 18 years, more than anyone else, and I know him best, as the saying goes. A gentle blade cuts through humanity, cutting lives with every stroke to destroy a person. Killing him is the simplest way, but that is not what I want. The insults I suffered in life, the injuries I endured, I want him to taste them all one by one, so I cannot let him think I am not intentional about him. I want him like in the previous life, be attentive to me, thoughtful and meticulous. He can no longer harm other young ladies, study peacefully while attracting officials, until he thinks he has the upper hand." Then, thinking about it, a maid outside came to report, "It's raining outside. Lady Zhao, Prince Zhaojin, is passing by and got soaked. May he come in to take shelter from the rain?" Zhao Jin hid under the eaves and watched me approach with an umbrella, a single white dress, untouched by dust, pale wrists like snow, black hair cascading. "How dare I trouble Miss to come all this way? I'm just passing through to avoid the rain." I put away my umbrella and gave it a shake. The ancients often spoke of the 8 great elegances in life. Listening to the rain on a rainy day is also an enjoyment. He lowered his gaze and saw his feet stained with mud. I looked again at my shoes embroidered with gold thread. Unconsciously, I drew back a little. I spoke. "Will you go to the literary banquet that Zhu the great poet will hold in the Zhushan guest house in 3 days? I may have more books, but the guests invited by poet Zhu are all aristocrats. With my humble status, I am not worthy of his notice." That's true enough. Poet Zhu is a famed literary master of the great Qi dynasty. His aunt is the current queen, so for the gatherings he organizes, all the invitees are eminent scholars of the age, not only talented and famous, but also wealthy. I let out a sigh, pretending to be hesitant. This is a problem. He handed 2 invitation letters to my father and asked me to go along, but my father is afflicted with a headache and can't go. If I go alone, I'm afraid I'll look timid without a familiar person to look after me. Zhao Jinyang clearly saw, and indeed a hint of surprise flashed across his face, but soon it was pressed down, turning into a look of reliability. "If Miss does not mind, Jin would follow along to accompany and escort you." Fooled again, I bow respectfully. "Thank you very much. In the previous life, Zhao Jin and I were sweet together. I fought to secure him the opportunity to attend the literary banquet there. He was not well liked. I met Jiyu Mingyuan by a twist of fate, who was then only the Grand Historian's assistant. Later, Zhao Jin, talented but underappreciated, managed to enter the officialdom thanks to his recommendation. I could have left this matter unsaid, but Zhao Jin's character is extremely poor, though his learning is indeed quite good. Moreover, Jiyu Mingyuan intends to stay in Linen for a long time. If, by some chance in the future, I happen to appreciate Zhao Jin again, it would be even more troublesome, so, this time, it is better for me to take the opportunity and let Jiyu Mingyuan have a good look at Zhao Jin's true face. In the human world, March arrives with mountains in bloom and gentle winds blowing pleasantly. The men's seats and the women's seats were opposite each other, separated by a sheer curtain. Nearby, a woman whispered among themselves, "That one in the purple clothes is Master Jiyu. Isn't he very handsome? I've heard he is not yet married, and has a virtuous reputation. Truly rare." I followed their gazes. Our eyes unexpectedly met with the person at the front. In the previous life, it was Jiyu Mingyuan who impeached Zhao Jin for spoiling the concubine and destroying his wife, Bola, and his political rival are the same person. No wonder he was caught off guard. I gave him a soft nod anyway. He is just an unaware outsider. At the start of the banquet, the cooling, delicate dance maidens stepped onto the drumbeat to perform. There came a sound that was extraordinarily abrupt. Pop. At first no one paid attention, but that sound grew more and more frequent. There are still indescribable scents in the air. Who would deliberately spoil this scenery? Poets Jew is hosting, using literature to make friends. Which crude person would be so indiscreet? A few people could not stand it any longer and pinched their noses as they stood up, and Zhao Jin, sitting among them, stood there stiff with embarrassment. "It's you." The green-clad man pointed at Zhao Jin, his tone unfriendly. "How did you sneak in here? And what did you eat?" Passing gas in public is such an unruly display of manners. There were whispers around, the feast hadn't even gotten halfway through, and it had just begun. Zhao Jin ruined this wonderful atmosphere. He forced a chuckle and said, "It wasn't me," and still arguing, "Touch the back of your head and feel it." Zhao Jin's back was already soaked with sweat and his butt, kneeling on the mat, was pressed tightly against the ground, with not a single gap. A hint of gold could be seen. There was some noise, and Zhu Shiren sat at the head and asked, "What happened?" They shoved Zhao Jin, causing diarrhea and polluting the venue environment. Zhao Jin looked embarrassed, nearly digging into a crack in the ground. Zhu Shiren waved his hand. "Get down quickly." Zhao Jin covered his face and staggered off in embarrassment. I covered my mouth and smirked. After laughing enough, I looked up once again. Our gazes met with Jiu Mingyuan. What bad luck. His gaze, piercing through the gauze curtain, made my spine shiver, as if he could see through my thoughts. I pinched my arm. He could never know. It was just my own vanity getting the best of me. After the banquet, I didn't wait for Zhao Jin and went home in the sedan chair directly. Halfway up the mountain, two onlookers carrying the sedan chair on the left let out a cry of "Rya, oh no." The sedan chair tilted sharply. The mountain path is inherently difficult to traverse. He slipped, and the entire sedan chair toppled downward. I immediately felt the world spin. Suddenly, a force held steady somewhere. His voice was calm. "Miss, are you all right?" The maid let out a long breath, then spoke in fear. "Thank you, Master Taisha. Miss, it was Lord Jiyu who helped." The sedan carrier sprained his foot, so I told them to apply medicine first and then slowly descend the mountain. Jiyu Mingyuan's face was like a crown jade, like a long scroll of mountains and rivers drawn with effortless brushwork by a master. He lent me his horse willingly. The mountain path is hard to traverse, so I reside at the Bamboo Mountain Retreat. There's no need for a horse. I thanked him when about to lead the horse away. I remember to ask him, "You stay here and won't go down the mountain. Why did you ride over on horseback? Could it be for a horse ride?" After thinking, I still feel there's no need to ask. People are doing you a favor and making things convenient for you. Asking this much sounds like nitpicking, but he called me to a halt. The mountain wind blew in, full of the fragrance of grass and wood, and it also ruffled his temples. The path down the mountain is still a ways ahead. "Miss Lin, you'd better open your eyes wide." I replied instantly, "Thank you, sir. You've drunk too much. Go up quickly and stop staying out in the wind." I didn't see it. After I turned around, Jiyu Mingyuan's figure, standing for a long time in the mountains, unwilling to leave. Zhao Jin didn't dare to come to me until several days later. He spoke obsequiously. "I don't know what happened that day either. The ancients say a person has 3 urgent matters, but how could mine be? I'm sorry to trouble you, miss. I went to help watch over you, but I didn't expect it would cause you to lose face." I looked up. "Don't call me miss anymore. Jingij, older brother Jin." He was greatly startled, his eyes darting around to the left and right. Seeing that in the flower hall there was only me, him, and a maid, he finally regained his senses and said, "Miss, no, WN Tang, what do you mean?" I stood up, took 2 steps toward him, looking soft and utterly timid. "At the Chonglin banquet, I fell for you at first sight. The song you gave me, Phoenix Seeking the Phoenix, I take it out to look at all the time." "Brother Jin, you still don't understand my heart." The maidservant withdrew in due course. In the vast hall, only the 2 of us remained. He opened his mouth wide, his expression excited. "WN Tang, is it true? You actually don't mind my pale-clad body?" I nodded, wringing my handkerchief as I was about to throw myself into his arms, but I stopped in my tracks, then turned away holding my chest, as if very sad. Yet my father would absolutely not allow us to be together. "I can only keep this affection I have for you in my heart." He passionately grasped my shoulders. "Even if we both have feelings, Tang, why should we care about all that?" I let out a soft cry at the right moment, turning around to look at him with great difficulty. However, our Lin family has a rule. As long as a man is willing to go to the neighboring country of Jinlin to beg for a monk to consecrate a yellow talisman, then they can wed. Zhao Jin asked in confusion, "Why go to the golden neighbor kingdom? Aren't there already plenty of renowned monks in Luoyang, or in the capital city Jinling?" I explained, Central Plains Buddhism speaks of saving all living beings, What does it matter about the causes and effects of romantic attachment? Our Lin family ancestors believe that only strong young men dare to climb mountains and cross seas to face difficulties, go to that distant place with devout hearts to kowtow, and only the talismans obtained through worship can repay a life's marriage. Brother Jin, you don't have to be forcing yourself. If you don't want to, then pretend I never mentioned this. See what else he intends to say. I ignored it, burying my face in my hands, a look of heartbreak and reluctance. Yet there is nothing I can do about parting from my beloved. Finally, he sighed. Break apart my fingers and look into my eyes, word by word, with utmost seriousness. I'll go. If this can bring our fate closer by one layer, I am willing to go. I laughed. This is not for our fate, it is just to let you taste the flavor of 1,000 miles of journey, with dreams shattered and the soul gone. The second day after Zhao Jin set off, I left as well. Go to Luoyang. The current Liu should have just been born. She is the daughter of Sun Taylor. From Hengshan Street I bought her back without much effort. There are many children in the Sun family. Even if they do not give me one, I will buy one later to sing, study, and learn art. 16 years later, working as a maid in a bureaucrat's household, Zhao Jin, who came as a guest, picked me out at a glance. I looked at the infant still sleeping in swaddling clothes, the winding curves of Tujiang. This is the most turbulent downstream. Not far away is a waterfall. Where it flows into the sea, the water reflects a woman's face. It is not the appearance of wrinkles all over after 20 years, lifeless, but it is a young, vivid, and pretty face that has not experienced wind, sun, illness, or pain. I took out a piece of candy and a lump of silver and placed them in front of Liu to tease her. She seized the candy with one hand. The maid asked, "Miss," I sneer, "at such a young age, you already know how to act innocent and pretend to be harmless. What will you be like when you grow up? This child must not be kept alive." She seemed to know she was wrong, and hurriedly grabbed the money again. I frowned again. It can be foreseen that she will in the future be greedy for wealth with no bottom line. This child must not be kept. I ordered the maid to put her on the river. Drifting downstream, a thud was heard. The baby's cry stopped abruptly. I knelt before the Buddha, quietly reciting Amitabha Buddha, Amitabha Buddha. What goes around comes around. Goodness will be rewarded and evil will meet with its punishment. I died once in a previous life, and in this life she should repay me. A pleasant voice sounded beside me. Miss Lin. I opened my eyes. A figure in a purple robe and black boots, with enchanting brows and eyes that full, pretty lips curled at one side at this moment, the tip of the tongue lightly touched, twisting out 2 words. Well, clever, I said. You also come to worship the Buddha. Jiyu Mingyuan smiled. I came to find you. I was still thinking when I sat in the Qianxiang Lu private box. Do I know Jiyu Mingyuan in the previous life? Except for hearing his name from Zhao Jin's mouth, I don't think I've ever met him. Once during the Mid-Autumn Festival, Zhao Jin took me to deliver a gift to him. At that time he was already a grand historian, equivalent to a prime minister. He supervised all officials. This position required even greater vigilance toward visitors. Originally, those who came to call on him were all rejected one by one. When it was Zhao Jin's turn, the servant led us through the trellis gate and straight to the study. He said, "The Lord is changing clothes. Please wait a moment. The 2 of you." I looked at the sky. The officials are believed to be different from ordinary people, and their habits are also different from ordinary people. As evening approaches, I still need to change into another set of clothes. Zhao Jin gave me a sidelong look and said, "Don't talk much later, and don't embarrass me." I cleared my throat. He looked me up and down, then reached out to adjust my hair. Somewhat displeased, I lowered my head again. "You should pay more attention when you go out. Master Jiyu already cares about your conduct. He considered our family residence unstable, and now you're dressed so pitiably ruined. Aren't you obviously trying to flatter me? I don't understand what they're saying. Just open the makeup case and wear whatever is there." In the end, Jiyu Mingyuan didn't show up either. Only Zhao Jin said that the mooncakes were all handmade by us. Hoping he wouldn't disdain them, Jiyu Mingyuan left the mooncakes. The person in front of me met the blurred face from my memory. He seems to have been smiling the whole time, completely different from the person I remember from the previous life. Now it asks me, with a charming air, "Can You make mooncakes. I was suddenly startled and immediately remembered that matter, but then I thought, perhaps they just love eating mooncakes and are chatting idly about it. I answered truthfully, no, I wouldn't. Oh, his tongue pressed against the palate, as if thinking, no wonder the mooncakes that time tasted bad. It made me think you made them especially, and being reluctant to eat them, you kept offering them up. Lord Gu, addressing him, he wouldn't, reborn as well, would he? But I remember, when I died he was doing well and he has already been promoted to Prime Minister. Yes, I, like you, have returned as well. He poured me a cup of tea. As the fragrance rose, he spoke calmly and unhurriedly. Zhao Jin's private virtue is rotten. You clearly died of poisoning. He refuses to investigate, allowing your corpse to rot in the wilderness. I was only investigating the cause and submitting evidence. The emperor demoted him to Langju. He just died there. I asked. And what about you? The crescent of plum blossoms trembled, and the water rippled the moon. Gu Mingyuan tapped the magnolia blooming outside the window with his fingertip, speaking in a faint tone, smooth sailing for life. Pass away peacefully in old age. Liars, why are you hesitating? I exposed him directly. Did you later marry and have children? Were there any political enemies impeaching you? Where did you retire to? And how long did you live after that? He smiled wryly, like being tired of dealing with a child who constantly extends a hand for candy. Well, I'm dead. Your corpse was infected with gas. I don't know. I also got hit by it by accident during the inspection. But fortunately I helped you get revenge in the end. I turned my head, covering my mouth. He's still so young. A bright future, high rank and court power. He patted my shoulder and comforted me. It's okay. Haven't I come back to life again? I speak what's in my heart. But you're so outstanding. You didn't leave good genes behind after all. The air grows silent. I can see the dust dancing in the light. He held my hand. Then you help me. Okay. My father was surprised that Gu Mingyuan and I were together. You actually woke up to it. I've told you about him before. Your attitude was terrible. I said, really? Back then my brain might have been in a Yunnan man state. In short, our engagement was settled like this. Today, Linen is bustling with activity. The wealthy Lin family and grand historian Gu Mingyuan are engaged. Endless sending of betrothal gifts, wedding cakes, satin, and cash flowed in. Everyone celebrates. Old Master Lin has found a good son-in-law. In this lifetime, I finally did not embarrass my father, nor did I waste my feelings on the wrong person. But within this chorus of congratulatory joy a voice sounded abruptly. How dare you marry another man while I am away? Zhao Jin, who had been missing for half a year, has returned. He described himself as gaunt, with his hair dry and disheveled. That set of clothes could no longer be discerned in color, covered in mud and dirt. Explain clearly, what is going on? He was furious and rushed over to ask questions, but he was stopped by the gatekeeper. The running posture was unusually awkward. Only at this moment did people realize, under his empty pant leg, there seemed to be a broken leg just too thin. Only when I moved do you notice he was still shouting at the door, his tone shrill. Want Tang, you said you love me, right? Look, I've brought back a yellow talisman. I can marry you now. The mighty man spat at him. Nonsense. And you dare covet my lady boss? Urinate on yourself and see how ignorant you are about the world. I remained in a flowing robe, as if detached from it all, watching him from the outside. It looked as if he was about to be pushed out. He suddenly convulsed, knelt on both knees, propping his head with his hands, and after the pain he realized the truth. I remember now. Are you doing this to get back at me from my previous life? Was it all lies to me? Where is the white silk I gave you? That was our betrothal work. Have you forgotten? The phoenix soars high, seeking a mate across the four seas. Alas, the beauty is not at the east wall. Let the zither speak for me. He hadn't finished speaking. I have pulled out the silk cloth and held it up over the candle flame. In the instant the flame licked the silk, the fabric and the ink swiftly curled and were destroyed. When the last wisp of blue smoke vanished, Zhao Jin spoke sadly. You have never loved me. What you said was all false. The golden neighbor nation seeking talismans, the bamboo mountain retreat, the jade forest banquet, it's all a lie to me. I poured my heart out to you, and even if my legs were broken, I would still come back to find you. You speak up." The father came out, looked at the chaotic scene, he frowned and waved his hand at the gatekeeper, muttering to myself, "Not even checking what day it is. Today, curse it." Zhao Jin was still struggling, a trail of blood dragged across the ground. I let out a soft laugh. "So disgusting. My engagement marriage with Jiyu Mingyuan is going smoothly. Just thinking about it, whether in this life or previous lives, it seems there is hardly any possibility of pregnancy." We decided to go to the temple to pray. After donating incense money, the host came out and asked him, "Have you come to make amends, keep a vow again?" He held my hand. Host asks, "Is that her?" He asks, The abbot nods and leaves after saying a mittabha. I suspect the two of them are talking in code. Who am I? Jiyu Mingyuan told me about a past event 10 years ago. He had just moved to Linen with his parents. There is nothing good here, he wants to go back to Jinan. So he set out in the freezing night, walking through streets and alleys, just walking and walking until he passed out from the cold. That day was New Year's Eve, and the street was filled with bright candlelight and lanterns. Not a single silhouette was visible. He thought perhaps he could sleep for a while and then return to Jinan, but when he opened his eyes, there was a tattered rug above his head. Underneath is a hard board. "You are awake." The girl in red with a white dress stood by the campfire, warming her hands without even glancing at him. He asked, "Where is this place?" The girl said, "Where you want to be is where you are." He thought she was being obstinate. "Then who are you?" She still didn't turn back. "It doesn't matter either way. After today, we won't see each other again anyway." His heart leapt with thoughts, and he walked toward her. "That's not certain. Let me take a look at your face." And then everything went dark before his eyes. After waking up, he felt a sharp pain at the back of his head. He asked me, "Did you hit me?" I was puzzled and said, "Speaking so well, and you suddenly fainted. I nearly had a doctor come for you." Then we start chatting. He unexpectedly said that Linen is not as good as Jinan. I refused to accept it on the spot. Linen has mountains and rivers, beauty in all 4 seasons, and a deep cultural heritage. You may not like it, but you cannot say it is not as good as Jinan. So I took him to explore Linen City for 3 days, from the streets and alleys of Shangqing district to the dense forests and caves in distant mountains. I followed behind him and told him to wait a moment, but he bit the sugar figure, his steps quickening. In a turn, the crowd surged with chatter. I disappeared. His parents finally cared about his feelings and sent him back to Jinan, but he kept thinking about everything that happened in Linen. By the time this mood was discovered, it was already late. Back to Linen again. What he heard was the matter of Lin Dubuentang and Zhao Jin's nocturnal escape. There is a madman in Linen City. He was once a talented and eloquent scholar. He keeps claiming that he was reincarnated, and one day he will become a high-ranking official. There is also a loyal and faithful wife, a beautiful concubine who is 20 years younger than him and adores him. "You all invest in me now and take me to find the Prime Minister. When I prosper, I will repay you first." Everyone says, "Listen, listen, is this not a madman or what?" "Oh, he's also a cripple." That man was ragged, his face so dark that his features were hardly visible, limping with a broken leg. He wandered about. "Jiyu Mingyuan and I have moved to Luoyang for 3 years. There is one in my stomach now, planning to buy a few maids." A row of maids shivered and stood. She spoke up. Her name is Qinglu, small of size, feather of feather. She couldn't afford a meal at home, so she sold herself. Her face, it is Qinglu, young and striking, much younger and more vibrant. I hold her. "Do you have a younger brother?" Having. I take out a plate of money and hand it to her. She hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. "Thank you, my lord. May you live 100 years. I helped her to her feet and spoke softly. "That is what you deserve, but I cannot use you. If you truly have nowhere to go, I can recommend a household for you, though the road is a bit far." In the north, she pondered for a long while, finally biting her lip and nodding. "I am writing a letter to the north. Someone will buy hers." Qingluo, "I hope you can live this life by yourself. We are not fated to be together. 1,000 sails pass, and we meet year after year. In the past, I missed a good fate. Enduring the of longing, ships drifting across the ocean will eventually reach the shore. The right people will always meet. Heaven will give everyone who awakens a chance. As long as we are alive, the steps of fate will not stop chasing us. But I believe the future will surely be prosperous and brilliant. The story is finished in full. The first story ends here. Don't go away, the next ones will be even more wonderful. In a previous life, I was the second daughter in the Lin family who was the least valued. The eldest sister fell ill and asked me to marry for her. Gu family married the wrong person, asked me to admit it. Having been a wife for 20 years, I only realized at the moment of death that the rightful wife on the family genealogy is not me, and the man my husband loves isn't me either. Even my own mother scolds me. If it had been you who joined the Gu family in the first place, how could things have escalated to today? Everyone thinks I should stand in for my elder sister to bear the calamity and go to the Lin family to court death if I could live a second life. I certainly won't accept it. On the wedding day, they still knocked me out and forced me into the wedding carriage bound for the Gu family. Gu Mingyuan lifted the car curtain and, when he saw me, his face went pale. Why is it you again? Just as everyone waited to see me resign myself once more, a voice suddenly came from outside the carriage. If Lin Wantang is sitting inside, knock 3 times. I'll take you home. In this life, I won't be a puppet for others to manipulate. I want them to see with their own eyes how the discarded girl trampled in the mud by them is one by one sending them all to the end of the road. As soon as I stepped into the room, I saw the esteemed, dignified elder sister who everyone outside praises. She was only wearing a white nightgown, firmly trapped on the bed, with her hands and feet tied, unable to even stand up. Her long hair spread messily over the pillow. She looked haggard, but that face was still beautiful. When she heard the sound of the door opening, she first thought that Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin had come, and her eye sockets instantly became wet, tears almost spilling. But when she saw that I stood at the door, that hint of vulnerability in her eyes was immediately suppressed again, and the soft words she was about to utter turned into sharp sarcasm. So, the Gu family's wedding invitation just arrived, and you can't wait to run in front of me to show off. Lin want. You remember this. Gu Mingyuan was always supposed to marry me. If I hadn't been ill recently and locked up here, what power would this engagement have over you? I stood in front of the bed, slowly smoothing my cuffs, and as I looked at her current appearance, my thoughts suddenly drifted elsewhere. Gu Mingyuan's strongest skill is portraiture. Many people outside who held money and begged him to take up a brush could not obtain even a single portrait. The book later mentioned that he had a locked private studio for painting, guarded strictly, and no one could enter. It was only when I was near death that I heard him speak the truth with his own mouth. All that hangs in that room is Lin Ruolan in blue robes, white dress, and pink gauze draped over her. There is her sitting by the window playing the zither, her bowing her head as she drops petals, her turning and dancing, and her lips curved in a smile. There is also a portrait of her with a begonia tucked behind her temple, leaning on the couch and sleeping lightly one after another, with no one else, only her in the painting. She is forever noble, aloof, well-behaved, just like the widely praised eldest daughter of a respected family. He painted her as if she were alive, as if she had never departed, but those paintings never capture the scene before him, without her being tied to the bed, pale-faced and with a grim look. No one knew that months ago. She had mingled with people in a temple and contracted a shameful illness. Although the book didn't spell it out, the ugly incident that the whole city knew about afterward has already laid out all the causes and consequences. Lin Ruolan struggled hard to sit up, managing to prop up half her body, but the rope tied to her suddenly tightened again and pulled her back. She slammed back onto the bed, her eyes cruel and vicious, staring at me as if she were weighing all debts on my head. I paid her no mind, simply raising my hand to drive all the servants out of the room. When the door was finally shut tight, I lowered my head, tears forming in my eyes bit by bit, as if they would spill at any moment. Aunt thinks Gu Mingyuan is good, but I don't see it that way. His family is indeed well off, but the person he keeps in his heart has always been you. And he haven't met many times either. Marriage, forcing it has no meaning. He isn't suitable for me. It's just that in this life, I probably won't be able to be with. I deliberately stopped in the middle of what I was saying. Sure enough, Lin Ruolan stopped making a fuss. She stared at me, the anger in her eyes gradually fading, replaced by scrutiny and suspicion. Are you seeing someone? Her tone turned cold. So you want me to keep this marriage a secret from old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin, and trade it back? You go marry the person you fancy, and I'll marry Jiu Mingyuan. It felt like she had pierced my thoughts, and even my voice grew faint, and not possible. After finishing, I hurried to add another sentence, as if afraid she would refuse outright. Jiu Mingyuan already likes you. The illness you have is just a minor problem. He won't take it to heart. Even if he initially feels unhappy, once you recover, it will pass. Sir Lin and Madam Lin only cared about the Lin family's face and the prospects of this household. They would never understand that Jiu Mingyuan is sincere about you, which is why they forced me to marry you on her behalf. I'm also considering on your behalf. Considering on my behalf. Lin Ruolan curled her lips, eyes full of sarcasm. You clearly are thinking about that lover outside. Want to shed this marriage and run far away with him. When these words fell, it was as if she had pierced a secret in me. My face instantly paled several degrees. I hushed my voice. My expression also quieted. Since sister won't agree, then fine, I won't force it. Gujar-type families like ours aren't impossible to marry into. Without affection, there's at least status. I turned and walked toward the door. You should focus on your illness. I won't stand in your way. Only taking 2 steps. A cold voice rang out behind me. Stop. I stayed in place, not turning back. Her tone carried investigation and contempt. Who is the person you're looking at? I had my back to her, silent for a moment, then spoke the name in a lowered voice. Luo Yang Fu, Lu Ziqian. When I spoke these 2 characters, I deliberately softened my voice, as if afraid someone might hear. Among the men that Lord Lin and Lady Lin are considering for my elder sister, there is also him. It's just that he comes from a poor background, and now he doesn't have much reputation, so naturally he won't catch my elder sister's eye. I hung my head, my voice husky, but me and him, we're different. We treat each other with real sincerity. I stood there unmoving, as if the whole person had sunk into memory, as if thinking about it. How Li Ziqian and I met. How one by one we grew fond, and finally handed our hearts over. The Jiu family sent over a marriage invitation, explicitly requesting to marry Lin family's Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin, while deciding that I should marry off for others, also did not forget to find another place for Lin Ruolan. They kept selecting, all looking for men from humble backgrounds. Those men have little backing, are easy to control, and hardly have much future. Their calculations are obvious beyond doubt, just waiting for the day we get married, so that Lin Ruolan and I can go out on the same day and stage a dramatic wrong on the bridal sedan chair scene. By that time, the Jiu family would be mindful of their face and would no longer be able to return me to the Lin family. As for the other man who is involved, he can only accept it and swallow the grievance. Even if after marriage they realize Lin Ruolan is sick, they dare not make a sound. In the original book, things went along this way from the start. Only later, Lin Ruolan would not bow her head even if she died, even driving herself against a wall. Only then did old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin have to withdraw that engagement. Her and I are obviously twin sisters, but from childhood we have had no resemblance at all. She was born well, can speak well, with a sweet and agreeable mouth. Many things she understands after seeing them once. I look nothing special and cannot win the elder's favor. The sheet music she can memorize at a glance. I often have to stay up all night practicing, again and again, to commit it to memory. Some things are inherently unfair. People on the outside all know that the Lin family has a pair of daughters, but the one who is truly remembered and praised has always been Lin Ruolan. As for Lin Wantang, not many people would pay attention to her. Old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin weren't always so biased from the start, but given enough time, the bias naturally grows, until in the end, they don't even want to hide it anymore. They knew full well that the person whose reputation would be ruined would be me, but in order to preserve Lin Ruolan's reputation outside, she hesitated not at all and sent me into Jiu family's wedding car only when the wood has become a vessel, then go back to apologize at their door. They say that my nature is selfish, that I, to seize the marriage, knocked out my sister and climbed into the Jiu family's car myself. They only later discovered Lin Ruolan fainted in the room and learned there had been a mishap. Thus, The Lin family's dignity remains, Lin Ruolan's innocence also remains. The only one who was completely thrown out is me. I see the path in the book far too clearly. They never imagined how much grievance and hardship I would endure after entering the Gu family. They never imagined that the very person who pushed her out to bear the disaster would be their own biological daughter. Even in the end, when the book says Lin Ruolan died in the Lin family, and Old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin mention her again, they can turn around and blame me for not dying in her place. Why did I, by some misfortune, end up with such a good marriage? I am the one who robbed her fate and fortune. Until death, they all believed that I was the one who deserved to die. Men from humble origins are the best at pretending, with no real ability, but a lot of wits, Lin Ruolan scoffed, with a look of disdain on her face. Only someone as stupid as you would believe the sincerity in his words. I pressed my lips together and did not reply. She looked at me for a while before slowly continuing, but since you're willing to let the Gu family's betrothal go, as your elder sister, I shouldn't miss this face you've given me. Rest assured, I will go and explain clearly to Lord Lin and Mrs. Lin, and have them settle my marriage with Lu Ziqian of Luoyang Mansion. When she reached this point, she gave a light smile, but her gaze remained cold. As for that side of the Gu family, that will depend on how you handle the ending yourself. Hearing her relent, I turned around and gave her a light bow. Thank you for stepping in, sister. Only after we passed through the gate of her courtyard did the grateful smile on my face slowly fade away. Actually, I have never met this person, Lu Ziqian, at all. I only know that he is mentioned in the books at the moment. He is not making waves or showing off, but in another 6 months, he will suddenly stand out in that selection, instantly becoming the most eye-catching new figure in Shanghai. Thereafter, he will rise step by step, entering the important circles of politics, with a limitless future, since he once took the initiative to seek Lin's family's daughter in marriage. It shows that his marriage to a Lin girl was for a different ulterior motive. If I really marry into it later, it would be just a deal where each party gets what they need, mutually exploit each other. No one owes anything to anyone. As for Gu Mingyuan, isn't he thinking only of marrying Lin Ruolan? Then this time, I will grant his wish. When Old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin learned that Lin Ruolan had finally agreed to marry into the Lu family, the stone in their hearts truly fell to the ground. Not long after, the two marriages were fixed together, with the wedding dates chosen on the same day. I married Lu Ziqian, Lin Ruolan married Gu Mingyuan. The date was set, and the tailor was invited into the house, taking measurements and making outfits for us in the same style. The whole household was bustling, with dowry, wedding gifts, red wedding canopy, and wedding invitations all prepared, just waiting for the day of the grand wedding. That afternoon, I returned from worshipping at the city god temple. Just as the car stopped in front of Lin Mansion, I saw a woman standing at the gate, as if waiting for someone. Glancing inside from time to time, I told the maid to go ask, and only then did I learn that the person was Lu Ziqian's mother. She wore plain clothes, not particularly noticeable, but her demeanor was brisk and efficient. When she heard that I was Lin Wanting, her eyes lit up immediately. Then she scanned me carefully again, her brows gently furrowed. Clearly not very satisfied. She was rushing over before the wedding, specially to meet her future daughter-in-law. In terms of propriety, this behavior itself is not exactly proper. Moreover, since she eyes me so frankly, I instantly feel some resentment in my heart. Over the years, there are always people who compare me with Lin Ruolan. I've seen this kind of gaze too often, and I'm tired of it. I was about to have the maid send the guests away when, unexpectedly, she sighed first. How did Miss Lin get so slim like this? Doesn't the Lin family ever feed the young lady properly? I froze for a moment before I could react. She had already sidestepped the maid, directly gripped my hand, and tucked my cold fingers into the warmth of her palm. We've moved here for 3 years now. Most of the well-connected families outside look down on us, because our roots are shallow and they're unwilling to associate with us. Yet it's only Miss Lin who's willing to come through our door. When my son came back to discuss this marriage, he didn't say much in detail, but I thought, if he's moved to personally go ask the matchmaker about the girl, surely it can't be bad saying this. She smiled to herself first. My son has always been calm and never in a hurry for marriage. But as soon as he heard that the Lin family was going to wed, he couldn't stay still. I thought about how in the future our home will have a daughter like you. And I couldn't wait either. I had to come and see you first. Sorry for being impulsive just now, Miss Lin. Please don't take it to heart. After she finished speaking, she pulled me along again, as if she had long decided on it. It's still early in the day. Why not accompany me to the Liu family's shop for a visit? The betrothal gifts are the betrothal gifts, the gifts for a name to prepare. As a mother, I should also give you a separate homecoming gift when we meet. Before I could push back, she had already pulled me around and ushered me straight to the Lin family's car. All along the way, she kept glancing at me from time to time. The sight made my scalp tingle, and I could only speak in a hushed voice. You can just call me WN Tang, she answered quickly, not the least bit distant. Then I'll call you Tanger. When we reached the place, I finally understood that the most famous jewelry shop in Shanghai actually had a branch registered under Mrs. Liu's name. She didn't go through the front door, but led me in from another side and went straight to the inner room to pick out jewelry. As I passed the foyer, through the hanging bead curtain, I happened to see a familiar face, Jiyu Mingyuan's mother. Before dying, Jiyu Mingyuan had made things so clear, and when I matched them with the old stories about the Jiyu family's inner residence mentioned in the book, I naturally wouldn't be mistaken. Mrs. Jiyu was sitting among a few other ladies, drinking tea and chatting. Someone asked with a smile, I heard that the eldest son of the Jiyu family has already chosen a marriage partner from the Lin family. The Lin family supposedly has 2 daughters. Which one did the Jiyu family marry? Mrs. Jiyu held her teacup, her tone very indifferent. Of course, it's Lin family's eldest daughter, Ruolan. As for the second daughter, she's plain-looking, has no reputation, hardly fit to enter the Jiyu family doors. I lowered my eyes, pretending not to hear anything, and walked straight from the main hall. Entering the inner room, many newly arrived pieces of jewelry that hadn't been displayed yet were all brought to me. Lady Liu held a smile in her eyes, picking up one piece after another, comparing them in my hair again and again. She insisted on giving them, but I said there was no need to hurry at this moment. But before I could regain my senses, several jewelry boxes had already been moved onto the carriage by the shop assistants. As I was leaving, I glanced toward the front hall, and Mrs. Jiyu and the others were still there. It seemed like a quarrel had broken out over there. Even one teacup had been knocked to the floor and broken. Most of them had waited for a long time, and the batch of jewelry they were originally promised turned out to be gone. The shopkeeper could only stand aside with a forced smile, saying the accounts were misrecorded and willing to refund the deposit. I turned my head to glance at Mrs. Liu. She looked calm as ever, as if she knew nothing. Sensing my gaze, she then spoke softly, "Let me take you to drink a cup of tea, and then send you back to Lin residence. Is that okay?" A soft tenderness suddenly blossomed in my chest, and just like that, 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. On the wedding day, the maidservant by Lin Ruolan's side was sent away to my side by old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin. After all, she has always favored her daughter more. On the same day, 2 daughters were sent out, but when it came to who would truly have their hair styled by hand, they had long since made up their minds. Mrs. Lin went to Lin Ruolan's residence, and when the steward's mother came over to compose my makeup, I had already dressed and styled my hair and head ornaments myself, only missing the final step of covering the veil before I can be sent out the door. Everything is exactly as I remember. Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin will first me and Lin Ruolan onto the wedding carriage we shouldn't be on, and when the procession reaches the city god temple Magpie Bridge, during the pause for incense, they will secretly swap us at that time. She goes to the Jiyu family, I go to the Liu family. But just as I had just sat in the Liu family's wedding carriage, someone suddenly blocked the road outside. The convoy was forcibly halted. In the next moment, a cloth was suddenly pressed over my mouth and nose. I didn't even have time to struggle before someone dragged me out of the car and shoved me into another wedding car. When I woke up again, the car was still moving and the road outside the window, I knew it too well to be any more familiar. That was clearly the road leading to the Jiyu residence. A chill crawls up from the limbs. Did old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin changed their minds at the last minute again? Or did Jiyu Mingyuan do something behind the scenes? Or perhaps the person Lu Ziqian truly intends to marry has always been Lin Ruolan? My mind was in a muddle, and before I could sort it out, the wedding car had already come to a steady stop. Laughter and noise from outside drifted in. As the rule goes, the groom must first knock on the door 3 times from outside the car, then personally bring the bride down. Soon, 3 light knocks came from the car door. The curtain was lifted by someone right after. I raised my hand a moment ahead of him and pulled the head veil back. In the instant our eyes met, the faint smile on Jiyu Mingyuan's face hadn't yet had time to fade away, but when he saw clearly that the person sitting in the carriage was me, he froze completely. That faint smile vanished on the spot, leaving only an expression of anger he couldn't hide. How could it still be you? He glared at me with a look as if he had just seen the person who should never appear here. I clearly, in the middle of speaking, he forcibly stopped, but I had already understood. He indeed had a plan in mind, most likely afraid that the marriage would be unsettled again. He had been keeping an eye on it from the temple of the city god all along. When he saw me get into another family's wedding carriage, only then did he hurry to bring me back. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that from start to finish, the person who brought the wedding car to the Jiyu family has always been me. I lowered my eyes, remained seated, with no intention of getting off at all. If we count by hours, Lin Ruolan's side would have just arrived at this moment. If she finds something wrong, she will certainly make a scene unless she intends to admit it by mistake, by sheer coincidence. I lowered the veil again, not looking at him, and spoke calmly. We probably took the wrong carriage in front of the city god temple. Please trouble Mr. Jiyu to send someone to notify the Lu family. A cold laugh came from outside the carriage. Jiyu Mingyuan's, Lin Wantang. Who would believe this kind of nonsense? Weren't you planning this all along, to stage this scene? And you even went to the Lu family to report the news? His voice turned cold and hard. If someone like Ruolan is in front, who would want you? As soon as the words fell, he suddenly slapped the carriage curtain back into place. The people outside, who had been watching the scene for a while, immediately erupted into an uproar. Did we miswet the bride? Isn't the eldest daughter of the Lin family the one Jiyu Jiading wants to marry? Why is the second miss sitting in the car? The discussion rose wave after wave. Jiyu Mingyuan held back his anger, called for a messenger, and was about to tell him to report to the Lu family, when there was suddenly a commotion up ahead. Someone shouted at the top of their lungs, "Someone from the Lu family has arrived." I sat in the carriage and only heard the urgent hoofbeats approaching, quickly stopping not far ahead. Then chaos broke out behind as well. Those who were carrying Lin Ruolan's wedding sedan chair also caught up in the midst of the noisy chatter. A gentle and steady voice floated in. "Young Master Jiyu, you must have boarded the wrong carriage in front of the city god temple. I've come to take the Lu family's bride back." It is Lu Ziqian. Hearing this voice, the taut string in my heart suddenly loosened a bit. Soon after, someone came to my car and lightly tapped the body with their hand. Through the curtain, Lu Ziqian's voice could still be heard clearly. "Is the person inside Lin Wantang? If so, you can knock 3 times, and I'll take you home." I tightened the hairpin in my hand and tapped 3 times on the car wall gently. "Steady, steady, steady." The outside fell quiet for a moment, then Lu Ziqian spoke. "Fetch them, immediately." There followed a series of crisp, decisive footsteps and a few low commands. The wedding car I was sitting in was quickly lifted up again and turned around all the way. The drums kept beating as usual, not stopping for a moment, still the lively sounds of joy, as if there had never been any mistake in the middle. But this time, the place they went to was the Lu residence. After arriving at the Lu family, the customary rites to be performed were all carried out without missing a single one. Only Mrs. Lu ordered many of the tedious rules to be removed, and outsiders were not allowed to come in and disrupt the wedding chamber. I had been tossing and turning from early morning until night, and by the time I finally sat on the edge of the bed in the new room, my eyelids were starting to droop. At this moment, the door to the room was pushed open. I suddenly became a bit more awake. Raising my eyes to look, Lu Ziqian walked in from outside the door. I had long known that there would be such a person in the book, and I knew his future path as well. But when it came to facing him face to face like this, My heart inexplicably tightened. He walked to me, raised his hand, and lifted my veil. That face fell clearly into my eyes as if laid bare. The book only mentioned in passing that he was extraordinarily handsome. Only now have I truly seen it. And I realized that line was written too lightly. Ordinary sons of noble families who stand before him would be suppressed after the wedding wine was finished. I mentioned the previous disturbance. Why did you come so fast? I originally thought Lin Ruolan had spoken the truth herself. Lu Ziqian set down his wine cup, looked at me, and spoke very lightly. It's my incompetence. I originally thought that today I could smoothly bring my beloved home. I was stunned for a moment. Lifting my eyes to look at him, his expression remained calm, and he continued speaking. It was my mother who noticed first. The bride who got off the car wasn't you. She said you've practiced the piano for years, and all 10 fingers have a thin callus. But just now Miss Lin's hands were clean, with no marks at all. She sensed something was off, looked again, and only then realized she had mistaken the person. Only then did a hint of relaxing smile appear in his eyes. Mother was afraid you'd wait for a long time and kept urging me to hurry and pick you up. He looked at me, his voice low and steady. Luckily, I didn't make you wait too long. I was momentarily speechless. From Lu Ziqian's perspective, the two of us had actually met before that year. On his way back, he injured his leg, and the people who followed him weren't by his side. When he was resting at a tea house by the roadside, he found that his money bag had been felt and taken. He argued with the shopkeeper. At that time, I had a maid of mine pay for his tea, and I left him some extra cash so he could hire someone to go back himself. It was a casual help, but I didn't expect that he would remember it all along when he finally understood. That feeling, he couldn't let it go. That night passed quickly, and the red candles in the bridal chamber burned down to the end. The next day, I got up and carefully looked over the Lu residence. The entire mansion was more lavish than many noble families' mansions outside, with every detail exuding meticulous taste. On the day of returning to the homecoming, Lu Ziqian and I arrived a bit late. As soon as I stepped in, I saw Lin Ruolan and Jiyu Mingyuan had already arrived first, in the foyer. Old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin didn't show a hint of jealousy at all. Even Lin Ruolan, who had been ill, bore a triumphant look, as if nothing had happened these days. But as soon as we came out from the foyer, Mrs. Lin took the person to the backyard. After the door shut, she turned and slapped me in the face. I reacted quickly, lifting my hand to grab her wrist. The hand hovered by my face, her anger trembling, her voice sharp. Lin Wantang, is your wing growing strong? If the path arranged for you by the family isn't what you want to take, why won't you go? You actually dare to do this behind our backs? Goad your sister to swap with you. Do you know how big a fuss this would cause if it got out? If the Jiyu family learns about her illness, how would they pressure the Lin family? The family's face. The Lin family's reputation. Do you not care about any of that at all? She spoke sentence after sentence. All about Lin Ruolan. All about the Lin family from start to finish. Not a single word was said to defend me. I didn't argue with her. I just slowly let go of her hand. But as soon as I released her, her second slap came down again. This time I didn't dodge, took it head on, and the pain burned hot on my face in an instant. I'll consider it repaying her years of bearing me, but the path they chose for me, if I truly walked down it, would cost me my life. I looked up at her with a calm voice. Madam, sister is your daughter, so am I not as well, just because I'm not as outstanding as she is, so I deserve to be pushed out to die by you. Jiyu Mingyuan's beloved person has always been her. What she covets is also the Jiyu family's lineage. For them to be together, isn't that just right? Why should I bear the rise and fall of the Lin family, clean up the trouble she causes? The benefits are all yours. Why should I acknowledge them? Madam Lin's voice suddenly became even sharper. She is your sister. You and your sisters are inherently one and the same. If word gets out about her private life outside, do you think you can come out clean? What about those girls from the Lin family branch? Will they be able to marry in the future or not? When I heard this, my heart completely cooled, and I couldn't help but laugh softly. That's not something I should worry about. You should go ask my elder sister. When you're living it up, why didn't you think of me? Why didn't you think of the Lin family girl? Now that things have come to this point, You don't ask. Huh, yet you come and hit me. What kind of reasoning is this? Besides, isn't she doing well now? She and Ji Mingyuan look so affectionate together. Isn't that exactly what you want? As soon as I finished speaking, Lin Ruolan, who had been standing beside us silently, finally spoke. Madam, Lady Yeto is married off now as well. There's nothing wrong with her wanting to marry the person she truly likes. She pursed her lips in a smile, her tone light and fluttering, as if speaking of something utterly ordinary. Besides, Ji Mingyuan already liked me from the start. After using the medicine, he didn't pay the slightest attention to my illness at all. Looking back now, this arranged marriage isn't really that bad. These days, she seems to be doing very well. I only find it ridiculous. Some things can be covered up temporarily, but they cannot be hidden forever. I watched Mrs. Lin gently fix the stray hairs by her ear with such heartbreak in her eyes for her, that motherly, filial display. I could never insert myself into it now. I don't want to push in anymore. I turn around and walk away. When I return to the foyer, Master Lin is in a lively conversation with Ji Mingyuan, chatting enthusiastically. Lu Ziqian is left waiting on the side, keeping up a facade of courtesy. I suddenly don't want to stay at the Lin family for another moment rather than watching them like this. It's better to take Lu Ziqian back sooner. I walked over directly, pulled Lu Ziqian's hand, and didn't look at old Master Lin's expression, then turned and walked outside. After getting into the car, Lu Ziqian was still a little perplexed and not fully recovered. Sitting in the car, Lu Ziqian still hadn't quite come back to himself from the fast just now. I pressed down there in my chest, fell silent for a moment, and finally decided to tell him the whole story of the arranged marriage from its beginnings to its end. You should have already figured it out. I looked out the car window, my tone very calm. At the Lin mansion, I was never the one who was favored. Today I also dragged you into this, and you've shared their scorn together. Lu Ziqian turned his head to look at me and touched my cheek with his hand. Only when his fingers had just touched did I realize that the hit hadn't been light. Half of my face was already swelling. His fingertips paused briefly. His gaze darkened a little, but he asked nothing more and lowered his voice to say one sentence. This isn't your fault. Another half a month passed. On the day of the homecoming, Lin Ruolan, who had been spring breeze and triumphant, suddenly had rumors spread that the Jiu family planned to drive her out of the house. Old Master Lin and Madam Lin were flustered, immediately sending someone to the Lu residence with a letter, asking me to accompany the eldest sister at Jiu Mansion, and to take the opportunity to persuade Jiu Mingyuan, but that letter never reached me at all. First person to stop the people was Mrs. Lu. She found out about my arranged marriage, and in front of the messenger and the footman, she deliberately wore a sharp, ruthless, shrewish look, showing no mercy at all. A daughter who has married out is another family's person. Do you Lin family not understand such simple words? Why should our Lu family's daughter-in-law clear up the mess in your sister-in-law's household? If you don't go back and tell your master and mistress that you should handle your own affairs. After she finished speaking, her eyelids flicked, and her tone grew more aggressive. My son is physically weak and cannot stand this kind of dirty business. If my daughter-in-law goes through this and comes back scared at night, it could affect her future pregnancies. Who would be responsible for that? The messenger who delivered the letter blushed and paled alternately, opened his mouth for a long time yet couldn't utter a single coherent sentence, and in the end could only drag himself back to the Lin family in a dusty, defeated state. When I learned about these things, it was already 5 days later. It turns out that Lin Ruolan had been taking the medicine prescribed by the doctor lately. The scars on her body had already faded quite a bit. She thought she had nearly suppressed it and wanted to take advantage of the calm before the storm to hide it from Jiu Mingyuan and solidify their status as a married couple. Who would have thought that after only a few days, the medicine lost its effect? The sick qi that had been suppressed rose up again, even crawling up in strips onto the neck. She originally planned to secretly invite a doctor at the Jiu mansion to keep the matter tightly covered, but unfortunately, it just happened that Mrs. Jiu drove over with several of her close friends, so she was seen on the spot. It hadn't even been half a day when this matter had already spread among the ladies. Lin Ruolan clenched her teeth and refused to admit it. saying only that the illness wasn't brought from her father's family, but was contracted after she entered the GU family. Because of this, Old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin were eager to find me, wanting me to testify to prove that her body was clean before she married, but the GU family would not buy into this at all. They had a doctor come over that day and checked Gu Mingyuan and Lin Ruolan together. As soon as the test was done, Gu Mingyuan also tested positive only. His symptoms were much milder than Lin Ruolan's. The Gu family's only remaining heir, Mrs. Gu, was so furious that she nearly lost her senses, wishing she could swallow Lin Ruolan alive. Later, the Gu family continued to investigate this matter, uncovering one by one the actors and scholars Lin Ruolan had previously flirted with. For a time, the Lin family's reputation was completely ruined, and the Gu mansion had completely become a place that devoured people. Mrs. Lin, having waited too long for my reply, gave up even on her face. This time she was too lazy to write a letter, and directly made a scene at the Liu estate's gate, insisting on coming in to see me. A male servant of the Liu family blocked her outside, saying he would first go in to report. When I walked out, I happened to see her standing at the door, so furious that her whole body was trembling. When I appeared, the fire in her eyes almost flared up on the spot, and she raised her hand to point at me and scold. "Lin Wanteng, you've married someone now. Do you really think you've got some ability? Are you just going to watch your sister die like this with your own eyes? I tell you, if something happens to her, don't even think about truly living a peaceful life. There are so many people outside staring. You are bleeding Lin family blood. The Lin family is disgraced. Do you think you can run away?" I stood on the steps, looking down at how hoarse and desperate she sounded, and suddenly thought of the fate arranged for me in the book. That Lin Wantang, who does everything they say, covering for them, making everything smooth for them, swallowing the grievances herself. No matter how much she does, in the end she still cannot compare to Lin Ruolan. Turns out the daughter who is not favored from the start was wrong from the very beginning. No matter how much she does, she cannot earn a single word of satisfaction. I look at her, but my voice is strangely calm. "Mrs. Lin, this is probably the last time I call you like this. Last time you came to visit, that slap you gave me, consider it repaying your kindness for giving me life. I can't even afford more. Since you're willing to do anything for your older sister, why don't you go beg the Gu family? Ultimately, this has nothing much to do with me." Mrs. Lin, after hearing it, seemed to be driven crazy all at once. She rushed forward with all her might, trying to push past the servant blocking her, while continuing to mutter curses. "How could it have nothing to do with you? If it had been you who joined the Gu family in the first place, it wouldn't have ended up like this. Why aren't you following the path your family arranged for you? Why did you have to marry into the Liu family? That marriage to Liu Ziqian was originally chosen by me and Old Master Lin for your sister." I looked up at her and gave only a faint reply. "The betrothal contract lists the names of Liu Ziqian and me. That's merely an expedient measure." Mrs. Lin almost shrieked. "You know full well that Ruolan cannot marry Gu Mingyuan, yet you still snatched her engagement. Shouldn't you compensate her?" Her whole face twisted with excitement, but I no longer wanted to look at her. As my gaze moved past her distorted face, I saw someone standing not far behind her. Gu Mingyuan. How long Gu Mingyuan had stood there, I'm not sure, but Mother's words just now, he obviously heard them clearly and distinctly. From the Gu family coming to discuss marriage, to the Lin family asking me to marry off the eldest sister, and now wanting to rebuild the situation, every single sentence in between, he didn't miss a word. Mrs. Lin turned around following my line of sight. After she saw who he was, the blood on her face drained away completely. In the next moment, she suddenly rushed forward, almost kneeling at Gu Mingyuan's feet. "Young Master Gu, when you came to the Lin family to propose, we had no choice and thought to let the second daughter marry the elder daughter. Who would have known this troublesome child, Wantang, would mess everything up? Now we just need to restore things to the original state. Just pretend none of that happened before, okay, young Master Gu? As long as you're willing to show mercy, the Lin family will do anything. We'll spare no expense to hire famous doctors for your illness, just to beg you to spare Ruolan a life. She's my biological daughter, young Master Gu." I beg you. Jiu Mingyuan didn't even spare her a glance. He only looked at me, and his expression loosened for a moment. Was that the road in the book, the one we were supposed to take? He spoke softly, but I understood what he asked about was that old ending. That had been destined long ago. The answer is obvious. No need to say it. He stared at me, his voice a touch strained. Now that you know everything, are you willing to turn back or not? This time I've understood clearly. I will treat you well from now on. Let us start over, live a steady life, and ignore others and events around us. As he spoke, he took a scroll from the hand of the person beside him and slowly unfurled it. This is the scene I always see in dreams after I wake up. Every time I wake from a dream, I can't help but draw it. In the past, perhaps I simply hadn't recognized my own heart. Since I can still start over now, Wan Tang, you and Lu Ziqian should part ways. He can't give you a truly stable life. Return to my side. This time I won't betray you. Once these words reached my ears, I almost wondered if I was still dreaming. Otherwise, how could I hear such absurd and ridiculous words? I frowned and looked at him, speaking directly. So Jiu only needs to remember one thing. I've never liked you and never expected you to treat me with sincerity. What I wanted back then was simply what I could contribute myself, hoping for an eventual result. Moreover, I'm already married into the Lu family now. Why should I waste time looking back at that muddy mess of a family? It doesn't mean I'm stupid just because I'm not as calculating as Lin Ruolan. As soon as that last sentence fell, the person behind the door finally couldn't bear it anymore. Li Ziqian and Mrs. Lu, who had been standing by and letting me handle the housework myself, now came out one after another. Mrs. Lu's face was cold, not giving Lin Fuan any face at all. She raised her hand and began to scold her. Madam Lin, are you sick? If you're sick, go get treated quickly. Don't lumber. The longer you, the more your brain will be damaged. The trouble Lin Ruolan caused herself. Why should Lan Tang bear it for her? Even if someone is to clean up after her, it should be you, the mother. Who goes up? Is it your turn to push my daughter-in-law into the fire? If you really can't bear your daughter this much, you might as well go to the Jiu family yourself to take care of their household, and stop day and night thinking about harming other people's daughter-in-law. She cursed in one breath, without stopping at all. And your Lin family, you always claim to be decent and proper in words, but every deed you do is uglier than the last. At the betrothal, you spoke one thing, privately. You plotted another, forcing your younger daughter to ride the bridal sedan for her sister. Now the affair has fallen through, you want to force her to divorce, and then come back to clean up after you. Where in the world is there a mother like you? Your heart can only fit one daughter. Lan Tang is the daughter you gave birth to, not something the Lin family can swap back and forth. Whoever caused the trouble, they should bear it themselves. Stop laying the blame on her. Mrs. Lin's face alternated between blue and pale from the scolding, her lips moving but unable to utter a single word at that moment. Lu Ziqian stepped forward and pulled me into his arms, his palm steady, his voice likewise calm. Mother is not wrong, he said, since Wan Tang has already stepped through the Lu family's gate. She is evidently one of the Lu family's people. Although I have not yet truly made a name for myself, the family business left by our ancestors is enough for us to live on peacefully as a couple. From now on, how we live our lives won't be something young Master Jiu needs to worry about. Since then, it was probably Mrs. Lu's stern scolding that woke Mrs. Lin up. She didn't come to the Lu family house to cause trouble again. They didn't send another letter, but forced me to go to Jiu Mansion to plead for Lin Ruolan instead. Jiu Mingyuan seemed to be possessed. Almost every day he sent things to the Lu residence, the letters, the paintings, and even some things that shouldn't have been sent to a married woman. Neither did I stay at first. I had someone place a brazier directly at the doorway. If he stubbornly insisted on bringing it, throw it into the flames in front of the gatekeeper, so as not to bring bad luck. But he seemed to have made up his mind. He came to deliver it every day, burning every day. In the end, even the male servant who ran errands for him was frightened. Once the things were delivered to the gate, there was no need to inform anyone, and they directly lifted and threw them into the fire. I watched it all, felt irritated, and simply had the brazier removed as well. After greeting Mrs. Lu, I accompanied Lu Ziqian to the villa on the mountain. Firstly, to seek some quiet, secondly, to accompany him in reading, waiting for the exam 3 months later. We stayed like this for 2.5 months, all the commotion in Yamashita. I didn't ask about any of it until the day I returned to the capital city. As soon as the car entered the city gates, someone outside whispered the news to me. During the time we were away from the capital, Lin Ruolan has caused a lot of trouble again. No matter how much she wrangled, in the end she still couldn't stay at the Gu family. After the Gu family drove her out, they immediately took witnesses and filed a suit against the entire Lin family in court. Among those witnesses, there are some minor officials who have unclear past relations with Lin Ruolan, and a few scholars who are connected to her in some way. One by one, line by line, they were all laid bare as far as I remember afterward, almost to the exact detail. This time, the Lin family has completely fallen. The facade of those old aristocratic families has been stripped clean by people. The last of the family, including the elderly and the young, were all driven out of the capital 3 days ago. Mrs. Lin had left a message at the gatehouse of the Lu residence. They said they planned to wait until the exams were over, then return to their hometown in G City. They also say that since I have married in Kyoto, all these years they have treated me badly, and they ask me to make time to go back at least once, to see them for the last time. When the doorman relayed the original words to me, I heard them and set them aside. I am not ruthless, I'm not even willing to go see them for that last time. Only some people's bias and scheming won't suddenly disappear just because they've fallen on hard times. They suddenly lower their heads, not because they want to understand. Most of the time, they have new ulterior thoughts. I don't want to risk my life gambling. I don't want to drag the Lu family into this anymore, so I won't go on this trip. But considering that thin blood ties, I still dispatched 2 male servants who know martial arts, and brought along a maid to deliver a message to the Lin family. I'll just say that now that I'm older in months, my body isn't convenient. I can't go out. Mr. Lin and Mrs. Lin probably never expected that I would become so heartless. They won't even give me one last look. They could never imagine that in less than half a year, I would even have a child. And Lin Ruolan, who they held dear in the palm of their hands for most of their lives, now lies on a hospital bed, her face badly damaged, no longer showing the bright color she used to have. The last thing she wanted to ask for, she ultimately failed to obtain. Not long after, Lady Lin had someone bring another golden hairpin. From now on, the mother and daughter's bond would be considered severed. This hairpin was given to her by her maternal grandfather when she got married. Now pass it to me. Hope I wear it in my hair, and a lifetime of fullness follows. I look at that hairpin and I just find it ridiculous. When have they ever truly taken me to heart? I didn't even touch it. I directly called the family doctor to come and examine carefully. After this examination, there really is a problem. In the extremely fine seam of the golden hairpin, there was a tinge of darkened blood. The doctor soaked it in potion again and examined it carefully, and soon reached a conclusion. This thing has touched the blood of those with that filthy disease. If it remains lodged on the head for a long time, and a careful slight cut on the finger or scalp occurs, the illness will quietly cling to the body. Even the child in my womb could be implicated. This is what Lin Fu said, a lifetime of perfection. I stared at that gold hairpin for a long time, feeling deeply ironic. Then I had people prepare the carriage. That hairpin, along with the doctor who gave the test result, I sent to the court together. If they are willing to quietly leave Kyoto, perhaps they could muddle through and live out their remaining years. But they simply refuse. Not only do they refuse, they also want to drag me down with them. If that's the case, then I will personally accompany them through this journey. Such a lawsuit is rare even to hear about. Standing at the plaintiff's bench is the biological daughter. The defendant is Mrs. Lin, who gave birth to her. However, the Lin family now no longer possesses the prestige it once had. The family's prestigious reputation had long vanished. Most of their shops and farmland had been confiscated. Ever since the Gu family took them to court, the Lin family's remaining dignity was completely shattered. On the day of the trial, they did not enter the courtroom on their own. They were brought in by someone else. Together with me, there was also my twin sister. Lin Ruolan obviously has never stood so embarrassed in front of people. While panicking, she desperately pulls at the veil, trying to cover up the marks on her face and neck. But there was no way to hide them. The whispers around Sihu West are faster than knives, seeping into her ears word by word these days. Mrs. Liu often uses my name to dispense porridge and rice at the charity stalls. She says it's for accumulating virtue for the Liu family and for me, but I understand she is paving the way for me, and also asking for that long overdue justice on my behalf because she feels sorry for me, feeling sorry for me to live in Lin Mansion until 17, yet never truly treated fairly. This is precisely why, now the people look at me and Lin Ruolan with two different gazes. Is this the lady of the Lin family? The looks aren't bad, but her heart is really black. She contracted a dirty illness herself, yet she wants to drag her younger sister down with her. Only the second Miss Lin's family is so miserable to have fallen into such a bunch. If we talk about character, she can't even compare to a single finger of her sister. These voices rose one after another. Once the darling of everyone, Lin Ruolan is now the laughingstock of the whole city. Instead, I have become the Lin family's second miss, pitiful yet sensible. In their words, now it's really her turn. She probably has never been stepped on and dragged through the mud like this before. More than ever before, I realized I had everything pressed down by me everywhere before the formal trial even began. She collapsed first and suddenly lunged at me, but before she could reach me, the people ahead blocked her path. She fixed her gaze on me, her eyes red and frightening. Lin Wantang. Her throat was hoarse. Seeing me end up at this point today, are you feeling accomplished? I stood still, not moving, and did not speak. She seemed to have completely gone crazy, throwing words at me one after another. You tricked me into marrying into the Jiyu family. It was you who told me that Jiyu Mingyuan has genuine feelings for me. It was you who said that as long as I marry him, you could safely go marry the person you like. So what happened? Her voice suddenly rose sharply. That hypocrite Jiyu Mingyuan didn't take me seriously at all. Inside his private studio, every portrait hanging there is of you. The person he has always been thinking of is you. The more she spoke, the more anxious she became, her whole body trembling. He's merely seeking what he can't obtain, so he used himself as bait, dug a pit and waited for me to jump in. He ruined my face, damaged my status, and that's how I ended up in this pathetic state. Lin Wanting, you've been plotting against me from beginning to end. You lied to me, you lied to old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin, and you lied to everyone. She was gasping badly, as if she couldn't catch her breath, yet she continued to shout downward. Why is it that we are sisters by chance? Why does everyone compare me to you from childhood to adulthood? I don't accept it. I am the best daughter in the Lin family. I am the one most loved by old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin. Why is it always me who ends up losing in the end? The last sentence, she nearly roared it out. I want to watch you ruin yourself. Why am I the only one left to go to pieces? After she yelled that, the entire courtroom fell silent, and at this moment, the judge arrived with a sharp crack of the judge's baton. The matter was settled. Lin Ruolan had maliciously harmed others, and all the evidence was in order. Death penalty. As the verdict was announced, Mrs. Lin collapsed on the spot and fainted right there in the courtroom. Mr. Lin sat nearby, with no expression on his face at all, as if his soul had been drained away. By the time he finally came to his senses and wanted to rush forward to plead for mercy, the case had already been tried, and the person had been led away from start to finish. No one even glanced at them again. Later, the results of the spring selection were announced. Lu Ziqian indeed turned out as described in the book. Once he rose to prominence, he became the most sparkling new talent in Shanghai. At the same time, the child in my belly settled in quietly. Two happy events coincided. Mrs. Liu was overjoyed, hosting banquets for half a month straight, smiling at everyone, and no one could persuade her otherwise. It just happened to be the day when Lin Ruolan was taken to be executed and Jiyu Mingyuan died in his own studio. He lit the fire himself and burned those portraits along with his paintings from these years, all cleanly destroyed. The fire raged for a day and a night, dragging the Jiyu residents into its blaze for the most part. Until death, he still held that self-proclaimed deep affection. The day Lu Ziqian left the capital to take up his post happened to be the day old Master Lin and Mrs. Lin were expelled from the capital. I went to see him off. On the way back, I spotted those two figures from afar. His back is hunched, his clothes are tattered beyond recognition. And the shoes on his feet are worn out, as if he has aged 20 years overnight. The Lin family's last bit of money had already been exhausted by now. Mrs. Gu's son died, and she put all the blame on them, hated them to death. Even the burdens they carried around with them were taken by others, and thrown directly into the river. In the end, they really only had one life left, but they stubbornly pressed forward. I know they must hate me in their hearts. They hate me for not intervening, hate me for watching coldly, hate me for having a hard heart. So what? I already have my own home, the love and favoritism that I could never obtain in the past. Now someone has handed it to me personally. Of course I will catch it well. As for Master Lin and Madam Lin, what I owe, I have already repaid. I only hope that in the next life, we won't be a family with them again. Not long after, more news arrived. They said that after leaving the capital, they wandered halfway before they were truly too poor to live, so they blended into the refugees to beg for daily sustenance. Later, they were also targeted by a band of mountain bandits, captured to do hard labor in the mountains. Then the soldiers cracked down on the bandits, and when they counted the bodies, they found that they were among the dead at that time. Lu Ziqian was also present. He knew I wouldn't want to identify the corpse, and I was even less willing to have anything to do with the Lin family again, so he took charge for me, found a random spot, and buried them. Half a year later, I gave birth to a son in Kyoto. Lu Ziqian was also transferred back to the capital for his meritorious service in suppressing the bandits. The days to come finally became calm. I stood in the corridor holding the child, watching him walk in from the courtyard gate. The wind was light, and the weather was just right this time. I finally didn't go along with the ending in the book for the long years ahead. I only wished to stay with him. That's all for today's story. If you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, you can leave a message in the comments. See you in the next video.